Hi, everyone. I'm Michaela Parker, founder and executive director for the Alliance for Data Science and AI, or ADSA, or ADSA. I'm here to welcome you to our Listen and Lunch AI webinar series, where we bring you experts from around our community to share their approaches to incorporating AI in teaching and research in higher education. Today, we are welcoming Dr. Michael Littman, who will talk with us about aligning campus AI strategy, lessons from Brown's Associate Provost for AI. But first, a quick reminder that this event, like all ADSA events, is governed by the ADSA Code of Conduct, which you can find linked at this QR code or in the footer of our website. But briefly, for those of you who are unfamiliar with ADSA, we are a community of data science and AI leaders, practitioners, and educators who believe in a just, equitable future where data science and AI are thoughtfully applied in all domains for the benefit of all. You can learn more about our events and activities at our website, which is linked on the QR code in this slide. But today, I'm very excited to welcome Michael Littman, University Professor of Computer Science and Brown University's first Associate Provost for Artificial Intelligence. His research, which focuses on machine learning and decision-making under uncertainty, has been recognized with 3 Best Paper Awards and 3 Influential Paper Awards. He received an Outstanding Educator Award for his contributions to AI teaching and outreach. Littman is a fellow of the AAAI and ACM and recently served as Division Director for Information and Intelligence Systems at the National Science Foundation. Welcome, Michael.
It's so nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, as colleges and universities move from experimenting with AI to embedding it across research, education, and operations, a central question is emerging. Who is responsible for coordinating and guiding these efforts at an institutional level? You have generously agreed to share your insights on how your role was conceived, what it is charged with overseeing, and how it fits alongside other emerging AI leadership roles on campus. So I want to start at basically with your role as the first Associate Provost for Artificial Intelligence. How do you define the core purpose of the role, and what problems or gaps was it created to address at the institutional level?
Yeah. So it's I'm seeing things happening in the chat while we're going, and it's splitting my attention a little bit. But
I see that.
yes. So I like the idea of artificial intelligence. I would like to be the associate provost for artificial intelligence. I feel like that's what you wanted to say.
That's what I want.
Yeah. So to be clear, I wasn't part of creating the role in the sense of I applied for it. I was away from my home institution while it was happening. I was serving as division director for information and intelligence systems at the National Science Foundation. And but the way that the job ad was written at least gives some indication of how they were thinking about it. And so they said that the person in the role should coordinate efforts on campus around AI and research, AI and teaching, AI and university operations, AI policy, so policy, university policy around AI, and communication around AI, which I thought meant being on television, but that's not what they meant at all. I think they mostly meant communicating with the campus, communicating with potential donors, communicating, well, maybe in opportunities like this, to talking to the rest of the community. So that's how they saw it. And that seems maybe like a lot. I have heard from some other people a couple other angles that I think are also really important that are tangential to what I'm doing, things like AI and entrepreneurship, because for whatever reason, AI seems to have unlocked everyone's interest in creating a company. I feel like every alum now has their own AI startup, and they've been contacting me. And also contributing to, I guess, public policy around AI, which is sort of none of the things that I listed, but I think a lot of universities are engaged in that, and I think it's actually really important to be connected. So one thing I think is worth pointing out, and I like to point this out to people, is that all the things that are my job, I have too many jobs, but all the things that are my job are already the jobs of other people on campus, right? So artificial intelligence and research, well, there's a whole division of research, and a lot of schools have a vice president of research, something like that. Those organizations cover research, and AI is in that space. So it's not necessarily, it is definitely within their purview. AI and teaching. A lot of universities, including mine, have teaching and learning centers where they really focus in on university teaching. Most of them are on top of AI because this is extremely relevant to what they're doing. There's already organizations that are doing or pieces of the university that do operations, that do policy, I guess, and communications too. Like, I mean, so all those things are already covered. What I feel like I bring to the table, and what I'm glad that my university decided to, the reason I'm glad the university decided to create a role like this is because in this moment, as AI is just kind of hitting everybody at the same time, it's really useful to not have to rediscover all the nuances of it in all these different spheres completely independently. And so mostly what I feel like I'm doing is kind of shuttling information across those different boundaries between those different efforts and working really closely with the people who otherwise have those responsibilities of research, teaching, operations, and so on. So I could imagine a time. I like to say that I hope to make myself obsolete, like to the extent that AI can sort of be incorporated in just the fabric of the way that we do business. We don't need an associate provost to oversee any of that stuff. It'll just be the way we do things. I say that, but then there was a recent article in, I guess maybe the one of the, I forget what it was, like communications of higher education or something like that. One of those, there's like two or three different places that like send out articles about universities. And the article, the title was something like, AI provost. I think it was chief AI officers.
Mhm.
Is it already too late for them, or is it already something that we don't need? And so they laid out more or less the same argument that I've made, but I really hated that they
Mhm.
made. I like when I make it, but I don't like when they made it because like don't tell me that I need to stop doing my job. I actually also think that they were making it sound like it needed to stop now, and I don't think now is the right time at all. I think it's going to be at least a couple of years before we even have a sense of whether or not the cadence of change has even
Mhm.
slowed down, let alone, kind of leveled off. So yeah, that's I don't know. In a nutshell, that's how I see the role, and that's how I've
Mhm.
been behaving. I really feel like I'm serving the campus community in a time of need, in a time when I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of frustration and confusion, and opportunity, and really trying to find a way of unlocking that is what I take as my goal.
Yeah, no, I was sitting there as you were saying all the AI ands, I was trying to count. I think I got to 7 at least. So it sounds like you have 7 jobs
Seven
actually. So I
jobs.
don't think any of them necessarily need to go away right now. But
Right.
I love, yeah, I think highlighting that the cross coordination of the technologies across campus is a major factor, right? And one that certainly requires a role such as yours. But when you think across all of these different areas that kind of fall under your responsibility, strategy, governance, research coordination, education, policy, do you have a sense of a boundary, like where your role stops? Or maybe a better way to phrase it is what's out of scope? Like, what would you be like, that's not my job?
Yeah, that's a great. Well, certainly like food services is not my job, though I do have a meeting on the calendar to talk with them about AI and food services. It's the
Awesome.
AI and right.
Yeah.
Uh, right. So here's an interesting example that I'm finding kind of close to the boundary, and I'm not sure which side of the boundary it's on. So I serve at the pleasure of the provost, I guess. I'm an associate provost, so I report to the provost.
Mhm.
The provost reports to the university president. The university president called me in like in my first week, and mostly she said that her biggest concern or interest was in how we can be using AI to just run the university more efficiently. We're running a
Mhm.
structural budget deficit, like to the extent that AI can help just kind of make those ends meet so that we can actually run in the black. I think that's the phrase. I that was a thing. She didn't talk to me about AI and research. She didn't talk to me about AI and teaching. She talked to me about
Wow.
AI and how we can make the
As a
university more
business.
efficient. So
Yep.
right, because I know she's got a lot of things on her
Yeah.
plate, and that was one that she felt like was really relevant. So I've been looking into this, and so I have a pilot running with the computer science department. I kind of gave them I upped their generative AI access, and they said that they would try to find ways of using that to run the department more efficiently. But one of the things I'm noticing is that, and maybe this is true at other universities, I didn't have a lot of visibility into this until I became an associate provost. As a professor, I didn't notice things like the process by which the departmental budgets is created and approved, right? So this is like money that flows from the university to the provost level to the dean level and then to the department. And apparently all along the way, people put their mitts on it. I was going to say grubby little hands, but I don't mean to be like they're wonderful people. There's
Yeah.
nothing grubby about them. But they, like people, like human touching is happening,
Yes.
and people are like by hand copying numbers from one spreadsheet to another, and not
Oh,
surprisingly, this leads to inefficiency and inaccuracy and frustration. So then the thought here is like, okay, well, can AI make the budget process more efficient?
yeah.
Yes, but first you need really reasonable processes that are actually automatable, right? AI is not going to have, well, I guess it could, but like not going to have a conversation with the people in the dean's office to say, hey, what you guys are doing is kind of nuts. Like make it make sense so I can help. So that's not an AI thing. It's really it's not even a computational thing or a data thing. Like first, it's just a human management thing.
Right.
People do the thing that over time has they have found works, and then they kind of latch onto that, and they're very not comfortable shifting from that. So is it my job to like go to the dean's office and very gently, I don't want to say lecture them, but kind of have a conversation with them about processes? No, but maybe yes. Like this is one of the places where I feel like it's, is an AI provost have that as a job? I actually think
Right.
it's something I should do for now. And like I don't know that I need to do it with everybody in the entire university, but like just to get a sense of where they are and how AI might help, I think it's actually relevant.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, you must be uncovering all kinds of things like that as you delve into the working machinations of the
That's
university.
yeah, it's I never thought of myself as a bureaucrat or somebody who is interested in sort of how institutions run, but it is so interesting, right? It's this big, extremely complicated. I mean, I'm a computer
Right.
scientist, right? So like it feels like a big computer system. Like it's got all its
Right.
parts and they all there's like an application interface between all the different units and it's
Hmm.
broken, like code's broken too. Like I'm not uncomfortable with the idea that things might be not maximally efficient.
Right.
Big O of Dean's office. Like it is what it is. And so,
Yeah.
but yes, I have found it extremely weirdly satisfying actually to learn about how the institution that I'm a part of actually functions.
Yeah. So that was a great example of like one department. But I imagine there are times when you need to coordinate AI related things across multiple departments or schools or maybe the university. So how do you do that coordination? And I'm thinking like, of course you can stand up a committee of people, but you're also trying to balance a little bit like with the needs and the institutional goals and mandates with kind of academic autonomy. Um, so I don't know if you could speak a little bit to that.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I somehow I got this position and nobody gave me any power. So it's not like I have the ability to twist arms. So I have to do. It's got to be soft power, right? It's got to be like you care about AI. I also care about AI. You're frustrated by AI. I'm also frustrated by AI. Let's see if we can work together to try to make a better outcome for everybody. So an example where this is happening on campus is there has been it's probably 20 years, but I can imagine it being even longer than that. Struggles to try to get so that our my university has a med school and
Mhm.
the medical, not just the med school, but like hospitals, and the hospitals are running as hospitals, like they are delivering
Mhm.
patient care, and all the things that the university worries about are not really their primary concern. They're being a hospital. They're trying to run a hospital, and it's kind of part of the university, but it's also not part of the university. They're kind of
Mhm.
affiliated. It's this weird, and I never understood this. I still don't understand this, but there's this sort of weird relationship between the hospitals and the med school and then the campus. And but if you want to do AI research that's going to have an impact on patient care, you really need data. And I feel like this is a crowd that I think appreciates the central role that data plays in trying to do this kind of innovation.
Mhm.
Well, medical data is complicated for like 15 different reasons. And so I think there have been a number of times when the university has like gotten to the point where they're like, okay, we're going to set up this data so that researchers can have access and they can do really cutting edge
Mhm.
stuff. No, never mind. And then like it all got unwound. I think maybe three times it got right to the edge and then got pulled back because just one administrator or one rule or one committee just like couldn't see how it would all go through, and so it just fell apart. So we're trying again, and the effort is, I feel like, helped by the fact that everybody. Well, first of all, a lot of the people in leadership positions at the med school, in the hospitals, they have now a chief AI officer in the hospital. There's me on the university side, like all the people, all the stakeholders, as it were, are new, right? So they hadn't seen the previous failure. The people at ground level have, and they are working really, really hard to like, this time we're going to push the boulder over the ledge. But the leaders are new, and everybody, I think there's consensus that AI is relevant and is as important to what they're trying to do. And so I'm trying to use that. It's like, well, you don't want AI to fail, do you? Like if this can be the little extra push that finally gets
Mhm.
us the momentum to institute a reasonable processes for dealing with data and connecting it with research, let's do that. Let's leverage that. So to me, that's an example of like, okay, we're working across units, we're working across a really complicated infrastructure, and I have no power to actually tell anybody to do anything, but they want to do it, and I can just help kind of nudge them in a positive direction.
That's great. Oh, I love that example. Yeah, there's a lot of universities with med schools or teaching hospitals associated. So I think that resonates really well. Um, yeah, I could go on.
I just wanted to just to suggest to people like, yes, you may have failed before and for no
Mhm.
good reason, but try again right now. Like it really is a different
It's a
atmosphere.
good time.
I feel like it's landing differently and doesn't guarantee success. But I think that we've got the wind is at our back. We might as well take advantage of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think AI is becoming a force of change, right? That people are having to rethink a lot of processes anyway. So, now's a good time.
Yeah, this is a thing, and I feel like this is probably on people's minds as well. This is a thing that came up for me when I was in the National Science Foundation. We were doing a panel across agencies. I think NASA was on the agency, like on this. There was a panel, and
Hmm.
there was a representative from NASA. There was a representative from the Department of Education. I was the representative. Actually, I was one of two representatives from the National Science Foundation. Just like it was a little bit of a who's who of AI in government.
Hmm.
And it was particularly on the question of AI education. And somebody made an argument about the importance of AI literacy and making sure that this is something that we make available nationwide, that this is really important. And all the words that they were saying took me back to a time 30 years ago, 20 years ago, when everyone was saying computing literacy or programming literacy. Like this is
Yep.
something that needs to happen. Like it's really important for our economic viability. Like there's all these stories, and then it didn't happen. And I don't, it wasn't clear to me why this time should be different. And so I actually raised my hand. I was like,
Said.
why should this time, like, I hear what you're saying and it
Mhm.
completely resonates for me, but it's like, this is the same story we've been hearing for decade after decade. Why is this time different? And how is it different from just computing? Or data and sort of quantitative literacy. And they're like, oh, it's not. But everybody's so excited about AI now that this gives us an opportunity to finally do the thing that we always wanted to do. So I was like,
Yep.
okay, that's a little dishonest, but also amazing. Like if we can actually make the good thing happen by leveraging just the energy, let's do it.
Mhm. Yeah, and public interest. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I want to pivot a little bit now and ask about industry and industry's role. And you mentioned industries are approaching you, and they play multiple roles in the university ecosystem with respect to AI because they're vendors of platforms and
Yeah.
tools, but they also can be partners in research and education. And so, from your perspective and your role, how do you think about engaging with industry in ways that both advance the institution's priorities, but also protect data and intellectual property issues? If you speak a little about that.
Yeah, no, that's a really great topic. And AI in particular kind of again brings this to a head, partly because I think on the research side, there's a perception that, oh, well, this was like industry made all this happen. And of course, industry played a really important role in scaling this up and really kind of applying it in a broad way. But all the fundamental ideas came out of universities, and the industry folks tend to do a lot less research and cutting edge work when they're not monopolies. And it's like there's all sorts of reasons to feel like the academic piece of this is still very, very relevant. But yeah, I mean, people have, sometimes policy makers, no, that's not fair. I feel like maybe, well, the public at large can sometimes have a very short-term memory. And it's sort of like, oh, well, I didn't hear anything about AI before now. So therefore, everything that I'm hearing now from these extremely well-funded organizations that are pushing their wares, like that's it. That's where this came from. That's it.
Hmm.
People are making the claim, oh, artificial intelligence, that's a marketing term. And it's like, I mean, so is happiness, right? People use the word happiness to market things. People use artificial, but like artificial intelligence predates the marketing of artificial intelligence by a really, really broad margin, wide margin. So I don't love that. But nonetheless, I think it's really complicated and important to figure out how we can work together with folks in industry. And already, I think a ton of universities, especially folks in computer science departments or engineering departments, like they're already engaged
Hmm.
with these big tech companies at the level of doing research work, right? It is now very commonplace for a person to have, I don't know, dual citizenship, right? To be a faculty member, but also have a part-time position at Google or Amazon
Hmm.
or whatever it happens to be. That is, I feel like the norm now. I feel like a weirdo because I don't have an industry affiliation. But back when in the early, when Google first became a thing, um, faculty members were always asked to choose. It's like, oh, you're working with Google now. Well, you've got to make up your mind. You're either with us or you're with them. And I think that's changed dramatically, and
Hmm.
it's now very, very common for those ties to exist. The vendor issue is super interesting because yeah, I mean, now I have visibility into how we buy things, and it's not as clear cut and organized as I kind of imagined when I wasn't involved in it. Like it's like people come to us and they say, "Hey, we've got this, we've got the best thing since sliced bread.
Hmm.
You guys should like obviously if you care about your students, you should be buying this." And I mean, so far the decision making has been very, very easy because we don't have money. So the answer is always no, we can't buy that. But
Right.
that's not really a solution, right? There's some things that we actually have to find a way to budget for. We need compute, and we can coordinate with companies like NVIDIA to try to make sure that's available. Or cloud providers, various kinds of vendors. Yeah, so this is a constant topic of discussion and effort. What we're doing on campus is, I think we're about to create another associate provost role, though it might be a VP role. It might be reporting to the president on industry relations, essentially.
Hmm.
I feel like my institution in particular, some are really great at this, some don't even try and are anti it. We've had this history of actually being, we had one provost who was quite anti. He's like, no, businesses do business. We're an academic place. We don't want to dirty our hands with that. Um, but our current provost is much more open to connections with industry. I don't think we've gone
Hmm.
as far as some universities in terms of partnering with the big AI companies, the big tech companies. Um, and I'm kind of glad because a lot of those have become sort of PR albatrosses in some ways. Like when you're a little too cozy with those companies and the companies themselves are like some people are feeling icky about them, then they start to feel icky about the university as well. So far
Hmm.
we haven't announced some sort of big partnership, some big deal, but yeah, again, constant topic of discussion. I don't think I have any great suggestions about like, oh, if you just follow this process, things will go smoothly. I think it's all being kind of rewritten as we go. This relationship is being rewritten. I read an essay recently which I thought was really interesting, which argued that like these companies wouldn't even be anything if not for academia and the idea that they're kind of like selling in some cases selling our ideas or our data back to us. But I don't, and I kind of like I do feel like we should all find a way to be a little bit more collaborative, but I don't see it as, oh, they owe us everything for free. Like I don't know. They're actually they are providing a service by, even if it's just repackaging. Like if we don't want that, we can do it
Hmm.
ourselves. Great, but I don't think we can do it ourselves. I think a lot of it is actually requires a great deal of effort. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't
Yeah. So I actually just wanted to add, because I'm curious, the one area of industry engagement that I don't hear a lot about yet, and I'm wondering if Brown is doing much, is education. So, there's this drumbeat of the workforce is changing. entry level jobs, student jobs that students are getting right out of the gate are changing. Is there any kind of formalized or even informal collaboration or partnership with industry to say, hey, how should we be changing our curricula to align better for our students?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So definitely, so I wear like three-quarters of my hat is in the is as associate provost. One quarter of my hat is in the computer science department, and in the computer science department, we're very much impacted by this. It feels like the what we had been doing for the last couple decades is training people to be kind of entry-level software engineers to grow into you know, product management and management, project management. Um, and that is very different now. And so we are reaching out to our alum and saying, hey, a lot of them are well positioned in these companies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you seeing? What should we be doing? What do you need? Because in some cases, like I spoke with the CTO of Microsoft, which just at random because he was bringing his daughter to check out Brown as a possible school to attend. I was like,
Nice.
had lunch with him, and I was like, so we're trying to figure out how to teach our students programming where the programming is happening in conjunction with an agentic system, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we know that the people who understand programming well can actually apply those skills in the context of interacting with a bot to produce code extremely quickly and accurately. But like, what if you don't? What if you don't have 10 years of experience as a software engineer? Like, is there any way we can sort of teach directly to that? And he's like, "Oh yeah, if you figure that out, please let us know because we have 10,000 engineers and we have a lot that we need them to know and we don't know the best way to teach them." I talked to another CEO from another company who said, well, everybody needs to learn how to program with these agentic systems. If they can figure it out, great. If not, I'm firing them. Like, like there's something very,
Oh,
sink or swim, tough love about that. But we would like to prepare. So anyway, yes, these conversations are definitely happening. We're starting with things like programming, where we think it's sort of a clear impact on the way people do business. But this,
yeah.
how to use these generative tools to actually produce high quality artifacts, not just slop,
Yeah.
is relevant across disciplines, right? It's in data, it's in writing, it's in art, design, it's in programming, and so we have a lot to do to try to figure out how to train the next generation of people to not to de-skill them, but to actually train them to use the tools to be good and not to use the
Mm-hmm.
tools to let the tools decide.
Yeah, so I see. I know we have questions in the from the audience. So Jamal and then William.
Yeah, I appreciate for this, and I really, really like what you guys talking about, especially with the curriculum and the tools that we are using. I teach, I'm in computer science at Pasadena City College, a community college, introductory students coming to us, and also I'm teaching data science, which I really, really like. So I am with you that we have to teach the students for the future that we technically don't know what's coming up. And one of the things that we know is in the future, in their career, they're going to be using agents. So are we going to be putting this as part of the curriculum? Hey, use the agent, create agent, because that's your future. Because I know some faculty say, don't touch AI. That's not me. And some students and faculty are using AI for everything. Me being lazy to do everything AI, students being lazy to AI is talking to AI, nothing's gonna happen. So, and I can see that introductory students are doing amazing job because they're using AI. And I know they're going to be using it in the future. So how do we bring them in my curriculum? Do I tell them, hey, in a data science, let's take this project, figure out how we're going to do it with AI?
Yeah, it's a terrific question. So we're offering a class this semester in my department that we're calling Agentic Studio. So we're trying to teach people how to use agents to program. These are people who have one semester of programming, so they know a little bit, but they're not experts by any means. And we're trying to figure out what teaching mechanisms are actually effective. And so we're adopting some ideas from art and design, where what they do is they have people make stuff and then they critique it. They do a lot of hands-on direct interaction. Hard to get that to scale, but we actually don't even know whether it's effective yet. So at this point, we're doing experiments, we're collecting data, we're trying to understand what works and what doesn't work. But some of it, I think we won't even know because it's a longitudinal kind of thing. Like, are these
Mm.
people that teach with or program first with agents, are they shooting themselves in the foot that the future they're actually not going to be able to program complicated systems, or are we giving them a boost and giving them the ability to get to where they need to go faster? I don't think we're going to know, but we're starting those experiments now because I don't think we have any other choice.
Great. Yeah, thank you. William.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having this conversation. It's super interesting. I kind of have a similar question of I think we went so many decades with if-else AI, and now here we are with these really complex generative AI systems. And training students is a real challenge. Not only is it, what do they have to know? And it sounds like, you're talking to industry to figure out like they need to be able to incorporate agentic AI into their software solutions. And you hear, I think it's like companies like Block and Amazon and are firing people that aren't using these systems. And the real thing that I worry about is, who's going to develop the next generation of senior developers. And I think the real challenge is you have to know how to code to be able to do QA unit testing on the agentic AI. And it sounds like Brown actually has a couple classes. If it's okay, I might email you about these courses because we're trying to figure out here at Colgate about how can we teach students the tools that they'll need when they graduate. My guess is it starts in industry and people in academia are using them as well. And so there's always that push and pull of like we're academia, not industry, but there's got to be some overlap.
Yeah, no, and it's fascinating for me to learn that I think the biggest user of agentic programming systems on campus is the neuroscience department because they have big data that they need to move around. They need custom code, but they're not trained to generate code. And so this is like perfect for them. So yeah, thanks for the question, William. So Michaela, maybe my collaborators on this course could be a future lunch meeting because it seems like there's a lot of interest in this topic and we're kind of out of time. But yeah, I think it's a great like this. We're all at the cutting edge right now. Like this is all happening to us at the same time. So there's a lot that we can figure out independently. We can share with each other, and I think that's the path to wrapping our heads around this as quickly as possible.
Okay, well, we appreciate you hanging on past time. We know you're very, very busy with your 7 jobs. It was delightful speaking with you, and yeah, we'll send around the recording for those who missed it, and yeah, maybe ping me or Michael if you want to continue the conversation. We can start a smaller group.
Yeah, and big thanks to you, Michaela, and ADSA in general. You guys are a force for good in a complicated world. So thank you.
Aw, thank you. Take care. Good seeing you. Bye, everyone.